Welcome to She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Angela Olfast, otherwise known as VoiceOver Angela. In this podcast, we talk about my adventures in freelancing, my voiceover business, and everything else in between. Let's get started. Well, hello. I had to make sure my mic was on. Sometimes I forget to hit that phantom power button. You know what I mean? If you know, you know. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live Q&A session. If you're new here, welcome. I appreciate that you're here. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and this channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful word of voiceover and audiobook narration. More coffee is needed, apparently. If you're not new here, and you know, every week we have a poll, right? I feel like I forgot to say something in my intro, but most of you already know it anyway. So I was watching the poll and some of the answers come in as I was kind of waiting for the intro to finish. And today's poll is, how do you market yourself on social media? Let me put that on the screen here. Because as you know, we are a community that meet here just about every week. And not only do I share what I know, but those of you that know also share, which is fabulous, I think. And there's a lot of people that, stumble upon my videos and then watch me and then come to these for the first time and maybe are looking for just that. They're looking for a little bit of insight, inspiration for what to use for their social media platforms. Because initially, and I had the same thought, well, I'm a voice artist. What do I put on social media? What platforms do I use? How do I use them? I don't use social media. Do I have to use social media? I'm kind of a private person. Do I have to use social media? And I have to say that me, as you all know, I'm a huge introvert and I don't or didn't have a whole lot of social media platforms myself. But what you quickly realize is that this is a business, right? And you have to get your business out in front of people, right? You have to get your business out in front of the consumers of your content, of your services, which are small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large businesses, individuals. Voice actors can help everybody, right? Indie authors, individuals just looking for a phone message for their voicemail. I mean, there are so many uses for voice actors. So we need to get in front of everybody. And it's nice because we have a little bit of a broader umbrella for who we need to reach. Unless you're a very niche voice actor, meaning that you only record e-learning or you only record YouTube narration or you only record audiobook narration or audiobook production. So therefore, you're going to be probably a little bit more narrowly focused on who you're contacting. But for the most part, most of us are pretty open to just about anything, right? That requires our services. So with that, what do you post on social media and how do you do it, right? So first, before I put in my 2 cents, I wanted to go to the poll and see what some of our responses are. So how do you market yourself on social media as a voice actor? It looks like we got about 20 votes, and it looks like 10% of you said to create content for YouTube. 55% of you said Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, etc., right? I'm assuming little videos or audio clips, right? 22% of you said make connections on LinkedIn, and 17% of you said other. And if you do say other, please share what you do, because I would like to know, and I'm sure everybody else would like to know. We had a few more votes in there. It still looks like an overwhelming amount is Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. So, and I have to assume that those are videos or audio clips. So what I have found is, as a voice actor on social media, all of your posts don't have to be about voiceover, right? share a little about yourself, because I think, and this goes back to, with the lockdowns a few years ago and everybody was isolated and alone, we need that human connection more than ever now. So I think seeing another person do another person human things is okay. It adds a little bit of depth to you. It solidifies your place in the world as an individual human being, all the little quirks that you have, the things that bring out your personality and let people see who you are, right? So you could be walking the dogs, on your way to the store or through the dog park or whatever. Or you could, if you wanted to, you could make audio clips of maybe a daily affirmation, a daily, word to the wise, or, you could do a meditation, you could do a video of yourself doing, and I'm seeing this increasingly more and more on TikTok, namely, of audiobook narrators going live and narrating their audiobooks live or sending clips of them reading audiobooks. Sort of like this is what I'm working on now, and it'll be coming out soon, available soon on Amazon or Audible, right? Not only does that help the promotion aspect of the book itself, but that also introduces you or lets people hear you and your narration style, the characters that you're narrating, the tone that you're using, right? Maybe the type of book that you're reading. Because, I mean, if we're talking about audiobooks specifically, there are lots of different genres of audiobooks, but there are some spicier ones that not every narrator is going to be open to doing. So maybe if somebody sees you a spicy author writes those kinds of books and they're looking for an audiobook narrator and they see you doing one, then hey, they might just reach out to you, right? So you never know, but it doesn't always necessarily have to be about voiceover or audiobook narration. Let them see who you are as a person. As a consumer myself, I would like to see that. I would like to see you doing everyday things. It makes you more relatable to me, right? You're not just some distant guy who provides a service that I don't know anything about. I don't know anything about how well we're going to get along or if you're trustworthy, or if you're just going to take my money and run. I mean, all of those things that go through your head as a consumer are the same things that go through everybody else's head. So it's okay to make posts about who you are and you doing the same things that they're doing. Basically, it was sort of a tangent and I apologize. But just taking another quick peek at the poll, it still looks like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok are 46%, and I'd say LinkedIn, making connections on LinkedIn, and then other are about 21%. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. What is wrong with my mouth today? I am interested to see what you guys have to say. Slow down, Ace. All right, let's take this off the screen. Let's hop over to the comments and see who is here. All right, let's see who's first in. Joya. Good morning. Good morning. I'm with the other because you didn't add all of the above. Yeah, there's only so many, and I thought of all of the above, but I thought having a please share would be more informational than all of the above, but I'm only allowed like four options. But that's great if you're using all of them, because YouTube has great great prospects too, right? How many people are on YouTube? How many people have access to YouTube? And just quick side note, YouTube is a great place to store your video content. Makes it an easy way to store your video content for free. And if a client wants to see a video demo of maybe a compilation of things that you've done for demos or for videos rather, you can send them a link to an unlisted YouTube video, right? Use YouTube. YouTube is a great place to showcase your talent as well. I use all forms of social media to promote my brands. You need all of these for successful marketing. I agree. I find that some people have better success on one platform versus the other, but it does help to be on all of them. It's consistent branding. Again, it makes you more maybe established, more real to people if you have a consistent um what's the word I'm looking for? Let's just say you're consistent across all platforms as the same person, same sort of content. It's less scammy. And that's one of the things that we're most concerned about these days, right? Is being taken advantage of. So having a presence everywhere is a good thing. Kevin Harvey, good morning. Trying, but I'm afraid I'm not very good at marketing. Oh, yeah. Good morning, Angela from Baker City, Oregon. Good morning, Kevin. It's okay. My mouth isn't working today either, so we're cool. um, yeah, there's a lot of us that aren't comfortable with marketing, and I think that just goes with anybody, right? Some people have that drive and that ability to just market themselves like crazy, and then some of us are a little bit on the introverted side, and so it's a little bit harder, but social media is a great way to do that without stepping too far out of your comfort zone, I think. And it's free. That's the best part. It just costs you a little bit of time, right? Eric, morning, Eric. Marketing is my biggest weakness. I have accounts on various platforms, but I don't put anything on them. Social media learning curve is daunting to me. Exactly. Exactly. But it is a necessity because, and I thought the same thing in the beginning. Once you create your website, you create a couple of profiles on pay to plays or freelance marketplaces, and you just expect everyone to come breaking down your door for your services. But in all honesty, I mean, if you think about how many people are on this planet, how many voice actors and audiobook narrators there are, if they don't see you, you don't exist. So you have to go where they are looking, and that is social media, right? Everybody's looking for that 30-second distraction, namely videos. I think videos are where it's at, right? So you got stories and reels and then the TikTok videos. That's where everybody's eyeballs are. So you have to go where the eyeballs are to be seen. So people know who you are, where you are, and what you do, and how to contact you, right? It is daunting, but unfortunately, it's one of those things that you got to do as a business owner. So I get it. I am Paximus. Hey, buddy. Hey, Angela, how are you? I use YouTube mainly, but I have been using TikTok a little more. A little more fun, but I've been using both to do some marketing, I suppose, and plan on adding narration samples soon. I think you should, because I've mentioned before, I watch your TikTok videos, but your TikTok videos are you drumming, right? Which are really cool. But I think you need to add some voiceover videos as well. And if you have added those already, I haven't seen them on my For You page, just you doing the other thing, just doing the drumming, which is not a bad thing. But I'd like to see you narrate. I'd like to see you do that. So I think that's a good idea. Rustic Hillbilly. Morning. How are you? Jessa Kent says afternoon from the East Coast. Good afternoon, Jessa. Mark Flores says TikTok is fun. I had a silly video I made get like 800,000 views, which was so cool. That is cool. And you never know. You never know what's going to take off, which is so funny because it could be something that you absolutely, maybe even, you're hitting that post or publish button and you're just like, oh, I don't know if I should, I'll just do it. Whatever. It's just fun. And then next thing you know, it just takes right off and you're like, oh, well, certainly glad I did that. But TikTok is fun. I think TikTok is fun. Mary HPVO says, good morning and happy Tuesday. May we all get a VO job this week. Absolutely, Mary. Very well said. Yes. Also, that just reminded me, another quick note about TikTok is there are a lot of voice actors and audiobook narrators already established there, and they do these duet script, like character voice kind of, hey, so you want to be a voice actor? Try out this script kind of thing. And then you can duet it with your own narration. Doing that is a great way to connect with other voice actors and other audiobook narrators to network that way. And then eventually, hopefully, you end up on their people's feeds, right? Because it's the same kind of content that their people are following in theory, right? If the algorithm works that way. But if you really think about the interwebs, right, you have to start connecting with other people to broaden your audience, basically. And those are fun, too. Those are fun to do. I am Paximus says, introverts united, Angela. Introverts united. Yes, we should get matching jackets. Or a bracelet. It says introvert. Social battery, tiny. Please use caution. Yes. Lisa Morgan says, hello from Northwest Ohio. Good morning, Lisa. Or it's probably afternoon for you. Shannon Flynn is here. Hi, Angela. Great to see you again. It's been a while. Well, I'm glad that you're back. It's good to see you too. Jessa says, you may feel awkward, but you're a voiceover actor. So treat it like you're acting when you do videos for social media. That's a great point. But I would say be careful with that because some people are a little bit more perceptive than others, and we can tell when you're putting on a face or you're putting on a facade if you're not being genuine, right? But I understand what you're saying in terms of be a courageous, not daunting. Be a courageous person. Be more courageous than you actually are. So act in that respect. Just be the courageous part of you and go out there and do the social media thing. And I get that. And I don't do nearly as much social media as I should. I need to get on TikTok more. I did a few videos because I too were sort of intimidated by the platform, but I'm on it every day. I see everybody else doing their thing and I think, man, I wish I could do that. So I'm in the same boat with a lot of you that are a little intimidated or just kind of, it's something that's difficult to do for some people like myself. But I think it is important. And I think the platform, obviously, that I have the most content on is here on YouTube. But I think spreading out and using some of the videos that you have made, if you already create content for YouTube, you can use some of those slices of video for TikTok, for Reels, for, make little videos and use it that way too. Pam says, good morning. Good morning, Pamela. Good to see you. Mark Flores says, definitely need to get more in social media and start posting some more. Same. I think all the different platforms need to be approached a bit differently. You're right. They do. They all require a different kind of post or content. I think they are all a little bit different. I agree with you on that. But I think the easiest to probably break into, because you're encouraged to be silly and just weird, is TikTok. Just get on there and have some fun. Victoria Vio says, good morning. Brand new YouTube name. And just getting my journey started. Waiting on my bonus from work to finish buying equipment. Well, welcome to the family, Victoria. We're glad that you're here, and we'll support you as best we can. Kevin Harvey says, I could do the doggos pulling me in my wheelchair. There you go. There you go. Do it. Do it. That's a great idea. Do it. Tell them, mush. Mason Reconstruction says, Upwork and Fiverr presence. LinkedIn to a much lesser extent. Auditions on a few platforms. Brick and Block podcast a little bit in lots of places. And I think that works too. I don't think you need to go crazy on all the different platforms, just a little bit to see some consistency, right? It's something else that I need to do too. I'm not as consistent as I could be on all these platforms, but I think that is something that is important. So I need to get on there too. But as far as podcasting, I think that's another great idea for introducing yourself to the world and your voice and your personality. They can't see you, obviously, unless you're doing like a video vlog kind of thing. But I think a podcast is another great way to get to be heard, you know. Sorry, my hair is bothering me. It's getting hot. It's getting hot. But apart from Upwork and Fiverr, try to get on some of the other platforms too. At least have a free profile there. So if you ever decide to upgrade your membership level, you're already there. You probably just need to do a few revisions, maybe update your demo, update your profile picture, that kind of thing. But it makes for a much easier transition if you already have all of the elements in place, right? If you're not already there. Stephen Burns says, as with Joya, I am all of the above, though I chose YouTube. I sent my first voice narration to about 75 of my contacts and asked them to be brutally honest. Most people are kind and say it's very good. Yes, and I think that if the people know who you are, they might not be as honest as you need them to be. I think the best way to go to get feedback on a demo or an audio clip would be to post that in a Facebook group that allows that, of course, and ask a bunch of other people with experience and different kinds of perceptions and experience levels, even different kind of ears that would be able to tell you if something is missing, something needs to be addressed, so on and so forth. But they're all people who are in the industry but don't know you as a person. So they're not going to be as biased as you would hope that your contacts wouldn't be. But unfortunately, I think most of them probably would be. You're just asking your friends and family for feedback and they don't want to hurt your feelings, right? And the other option would be to hire an audio engineer or a coach that specializes in demos, right? That can help you and will be brutally honest, because that's what you're paying them to do, is to give you input and advice. MG Stevens says, what was that? Hi, Angela. Hi, everyone. Looking for all ideas on marketing. I've got a growing list of prospective clients, but not always sure of the best way to go with it. For social media, I'm looking for ideas. Well, I'm hoping that so far, everything that I've blabbered on about social media has given you maybe some inspiration and ideas. Again, it could be whatever you want it to be. It could be the daily quote. It could be a daily affirmation. It could be daily meditation. It could be, oh, I saw something, bloopers, right? There are some voice actors that record all of their bloopers, put them into a compilation, and then play that on, say, TikTok or, because it's funny to hear them. And it still gives the listener an opportunity to hear you, right? Or again, go walk the dogs. It doesn't necessarily need to be something that is voiceover related. Paxima says, embrace any and all tangents, Angela. Embrace it. Embrace the tangent. I think Isotope needs to develop that anti-tangent plugin for me. Yes. Joya says, just be careful reading other people's books on YouTube. There is a major plagiarism issues with reading books that you are not your own written works. YouTube does watch copyright laws on videos posted. Absolutely. I think and you just reminded me, I probably should clarify. If you were chosen and you're contracted to produce an audiobook, that is the book that I'm referring to, that you read on TikTok with the author's permission, right? And I would have to think that the author, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joya, but I would think that the author would be mostly okay with you doing that, because that would be promotional for the book, right? get people excited for it coming out, for this audiobook in production. But Joy is right. You should get the author's permission to narrate a book. And this is one of the reasons why in my early days when I first started doing this, I would only stick to books that were in the public domain because they're out of copyright, right? Because I didn't want to inadvertently step on anybody's toes. So just make sure that you're free and clear to narrate these books if you're not contracted to produce them. If you are contracted to produce them, it's still, considerate to ask the author's permission to record yourself before you do that. And you're right, there are a lot of issues with people stealing people's work these days and in all industries, unfortunately. Joe Voice says, I am better at marketing than I am at VO. I don't think so. I would have to disagree. So if you're saying that, though, if your VO is good, which we know it is, then your marketing must be amazing, Joe. You're going to have to share some tips with us. That's all I'm going to say. Lemuel CDs, I hope I said that right. I've been inconsistently posting on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm not very good at it, and there are so many platforms, many of which I've never known about. It's a bit overwhelming. It is overwhelming. It is absolutely overwhelming. But it's something that I think that can help a business get off the ground, to let everybody know that you're there, right? And again, it's free. There's nothing better than free. Your favorite today and every day. Good afternoon from Toledo, Ohio. Well, good afternoon. Your favorite today and every day. Mary HPVO says, I'm with Eric. Marketing is my biggest weakness and very overwhelming. I am working on getting all my social media in one place to post all at once. You can get Hootsuite. Is it what is the other platform where you can post and schedule a bunch of social media posts all at one time? There's Hootsuite, which I personally used for a while. And there's, is it Evergreen? There's a few of them where you can pre-schedule content for any platform. I don't think any of these sites are free anymore. I think you have to pay to have this service done. And I think they're tiered. I could be wrong because I don't use Hootsuite anymore, but it's tiered depending on how many platforms you want to include in the pre-scheduling of posts. But if you're someone that's very short on time and you can maybe have somebody help you with content, you can just kind of receive all the content and then upload it all at once to a specific time and day. That might save a little bit of time, but most of those services cost money. But that's the way to go, I think, if you're just busy. And as a business owner, we wear many, many hats, and our time during the day is just consumed with sustaining, maintaining, answering questions. And, it's a lot. So outsourcing is definitely something that I'm going to have to get back into at some point. Yeah. Had Pauser. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hiya, late. Good morning to you. Thank you for that. Oh, I just saw a super chat. I think I know who that is. Sean Lester. Good morning, Sean. Thank you for the super chat. What percentage of your working time do you devote to marketing activities, doing voiceovers, getting education, etc.? I would have to say it varies a lot every day because, as you know, I have mastermind groups I belong to. I have mentorship programs. And every day is different. So, but my daily planner has been an absolute lifeline and a lifesaver for me in planning out my days to make sure that everything that needs to get done gets done on a day-to-day basis. So if I have to meet with somebody, if I have a group meeting, if I have a little extra time here or there before my son's taekwondo class or picking him up from school or getting him to school or what have you. If I have a little bit of time somewhere, I can go, okay, this is where I can focus a little bit on marketing. This is my time where it's going to be quiet because the landscapers won't be here in the community, right? So I can get a recording done, or I might have to edit. So every day is different. There's a lot of variables to consider, and everybody's schedule is going to be a little bit different. So having this agenda book has helped me immensely in keeping track of when I have time available to do all of these different things. That's a great question. So it varies day to day, but I would say the majority of my day would be split between voiceovers and editing, and then kind of filled in here and there with whatever else I can squeeze in. Because I meet with people almost every day, one or two people, mentees every day, or have a group or something, right? So I make the best of what I have available to me on a day-to-day basis. I hope that answers your question, Sean. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Where did I leave off? Here we go. Jessica Kent says, I love the idea of duetting. Fast and quick and gets you eyes. Great idea. Yes. And not only that, but then you're going to, you should anyway, the algorithm should then push you into the other person's interweb algorithm as well, right? I don't know all the terminology. I'm old. But that should get you more eyeballs than you had before, right? You're sort of sharing in their audience with them. And maybe even a broader audience, because maybe people just love watching these so much. That's mostly what they see on their For You page. You never know. But, and they're fun. They're fun to do. So get out there and try it. Seer here says, thanks, Angela, for all your content. You inspire me to chase my dreams. Well, good. I'm so humbled when people say these things. And I appreciate you, because that is ultimately my goal, is to just share what I know and hopefully give you the information that helps you make the decision, and to help you and encourage you to go after it. If this is what you want to do, go after it. It takes work, it takes dedication, and it takes a little sacrifice. But if you're willing and able and patient, you can make anything work, right? Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Akila says, hi. Do you have any tips on how to work with more producers when just starting out? Has anyone worked with a voiceover team that allows more opportunities? Typically, when you're first just starting out, and let's just be real and honest here, you're in no place to be working with producers. Not just yet. It usually takes a lot of practice and a lot of time before you can start to be considered professionally. It just is. You can have an odd job here and there in the very beginning. And I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm just being honest and transparent here. It takes time, training, practice, learning your DAW. It takes a lot of time to get to the point where it would be appropriate to start reaching out to producers of content, or even audio producers. Maybe sooner for audio producers, like if you're hiring them to help you with your sound, that would be something you would probably want to do sooner rather than later. But if you're talking about producers of content to hire you for your voiceover services, it might take a while before it would be appropriate to reach out to them. Unless you're just, your sound is dialed in and your performance and, you have everything down pat, then yeah. I mean, you could reach out to them on LinkedIn. You can find them on all the pay-to-play platforms, the freelance marketplaces, making connections with them on social media. It's exactly what we're talking about today. You can do that at any time if you feel that you're ready, but it normally takes a little bit of time in the beginning to practice, to learn, to grow, to get trained, to get to the point where you're seeing more opportunities, right? It's a slow snowball effect. It's a marathon, not necessarily a sprint, as I often say. But keep going. Just keep going. Brandon Keener voiceover talent says, "Hi, Angela." Well, hi, Brandon. Thanks for doing these. Some of the marketing parts of this biz make me feel like the Tasmanian devil. Same. Spinning around like crazy, hoping to get the right direction. Yeah, it's same. It's overwhelming for me too. But it's, nature of the beast. It's part of being a business owner is to market your business. And this is one of the best ways, easiest and fun ways to do it. Social media. And there's so many different platforms to choose from, you know. As I mentioned before, some people do better on other platforms than they do on some of the other ones. But you won't know unless you try. Eric says, "Good afternoon, all. Thanks for the insights. Question. What's the reason for the incognito window on Fiverr?" For the incognito window. Oh, when people search for their gigs incognito, that tells if you're looking at uh, other sellers on Fiverr in your own profile, it's going to be a little bit more attuned to your likes and what you're looking at most often. And it may even show your gigs towards the top a little bit more often because it's attuned to your algorithms, right? So if you go incognito into Fiverr and try to find your gig that way, which is something we've all done, right? Just to see where we stand on a day-to-day basis, just to see where your gigs land, then that would be a true representation of what maybe another client would see versus you yourself looking at your own gigs. I'm hoping that's what you mean. But we've all done it, and it's something good to do. It's something good to do to see where you rank, to a potential client brand new to the platform, to see where your gig shows up in the pages. I hope that answers your question. Shannon Flynn says, "I have an off-topic question. What platform would you advise using for VO in other countries like Australia?" I know ACX doesn't do business with other countries like Australia. Yeah, ACX hasn't opened up to every single country yet. But just remember that ACX is only one platform. There are literally hundreds of other platforms out there to find work on. And ultimately, you want to have direct clients. You want to have clients work directly with you, and you find them through social media. This is what we're talking about today. And marketing, right? That is ideally what you want to do because most of those platforms, they are a business also, and they're going to take a piece of what you earn in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a monthly fee, maybe it's a semi-annual fee, maybe it's a quarterly fee, maybe it's a yearly fee, maybe it's a yearly fee plus a percentage of what you make. They're all kind of, structured a little bit differently, but there are lots of ways to find audiobook work. So direct marketing yourself. There are a lot of it's just a simple Google search. There's a lot more platforms out there than you would think would help you to find audiobook distributors. There's Ahab, there's Findaway Voices, there's Authors Republic. There's also another one that I can never remember, Audiobook something. But there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them to find work on. Fiverr, Upwork, Guru. There's tons. There's tons of them. But ACX is just one. Shannon Flynn says, "My recent audiobook has sparked interest from other authors that would like me to do their audiobooks." Congratulations. And that's what we want. Even if they don't hire you, at least they know you're there and they can refer you to other people, right? That is a win-win-win in my opinion. So good job, Shannon. Brandon Keener voiceover talent says, "I did have one question. How are people doing the audiobook narrations on TikTok without violating terms? I'm always afraid that I'm going to break a rule or something." I think from what I have seen myself on TikTok with people narrating audiobooks, I think it comes down to the content itself. If it's something that's maybe on the spicy side, you may have somebody that gets offended and reports you, or, but you really take that risk with anything that you post. I mean, you take the risk of offending somebody somewhere with anything that you post. So I think if you're just conscientious about the content itself and making sure that it's pretty much PG, basically, I think you'll be okay for the most part as long as it's PG, maybe uplifting, maybe no violence, that kind of thing. So just be smart about what content specifically you're using before you post it, I think is what you need to be concerned with. I hope that you read through all of the terms of every platform that you're on. And if you haven't, maybe, take a look, but just to be sure. But that's what I would say. If you stick with kind of like the PG stuff, no violence. Violence usually gets strikes. But yeah, same. I would always err on the side of caution than not, to be safe rather than sorry. I am Paximus. Thank you, Angela, for watching my TikToks. I love them. I will post something soon. I'm a YouTuber mainly, but TikTok does offer flexibility in terms of content. Very experimental and has potential. Using it for, and you continue down here, reading recommendations, audiobook samples soon maybe, and some of the drone videos. That's great. That's great. How many followers do you have on TikTok now? Mark Flores says, "You staying cool, Angela?" I had the fan on in here this morning. It's getting warm. It's getting warm already. Is it was supposed to be like 90 something today and 100 this weekend? It's too soon for that. I'm here in Phoenix too, and there's a few days the last couple of weeks that have been hot, and it's not even up in the hundreds yet. Yeah, I've had this conversation with a couple of people. There was somebody I was talking to yesterday, a mentee that lives here in Phoenix as well. And she's like, "How do you deal with the heat?" And I've talked to a few other people too. And I said, "Well, you're basically recording with a swimsuit on, with a cold pack on your shoulders, trying to get through some chapters. And then every once in a while, you got to open the door to get some air in here to exchange the air, turn a fan on, crank up the AC, cool back down, and then go back in and do it." And in Arizona, the air conditioner in the summer is on 90% of the day. So it's difficult. Audiobooks definitely take longer in the summertime. And yes, there are ways that you can eliminate noise from your files in post, in the editing process. But I think no matter how surgical they are, I'm still always afraid of noise or distortion or making my voice sound tinny or pixelated, because all those effects do in some way, shape, or form. They affect the sound quality. So I would much rather just record with the air conditioner off, sweat it out, get it done, and then cool back down and edit while I'm cooling. That's kind of how I do things here in the desert. I know, but it's going to be hot. Oh my goodness, we just got another super chat. Hold on, scrolling. Shannon. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you for the info. I appreciate it. You're such a great cheerleader. I've had the best experience with the author of the book I did. She's so gracious sharing and promoting me for VO. And that is a fabulous partnership. That's what we all want, right? I'm getting all emotional. Stop it. We want this sort of feeling of being a team and promoting each other, right? You help to promote the book and the author does the same for you. And that is just a glorious thing when there's this fabulous partnership. You guys are, you're talking to each other, you're creating these characters, and then you help promote each other when it's all said and done, instead of it just being like okay, order's done, see you later, thanks a lot. And then, that is great. And it's fabulous. And I love to hear that. So I'm so glad that you have that, because that is not all the time, but I think that is the most beautiful thing, that partnership. And thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Oh my goodness. Okay. Where did I leave off? Okay, I think I'm here. Brandon Keener, voiceover talent, says, at Shannon Flynn, Findaway Voices is international if you were looking for another platform that's not ACX. Perfect. Yeah, Find It Way Voices is one. I am Paximus says, consider me the isotope tangent engine for you. Oh, darn. Sorry for letting that tangent go through. I'll catch the next one. I appreciate you, Paximus. That's funny. I need an anti-tangent button. Where's my Stream Deck? Let's install that now. Joya says, most authors do agree to promotional readings if you ask. Again, the legal side of me says to get that permission in writing to protect yourself from them coming back and retracting their agreement. That is another great point, and I'm so glad you're here, Joya, to help flesh out what I'm trying to say. If you are reaching out to your author and asking them permission to narrate their book on social media or sharing a portion of it, because it could very well be that the author wants to keep it secret for, maybe it's like a secret drop or something. So you never really know, and you don't want to blow the surprise, right? So it's a good idea to ask the author beforehand and then save those conversations. If it's a text message or if it's preferably email, or even if you're working through ACX, do it on ACX. Just make sure that you have it in writing in a conversation, and then save those conversations just in case somebody has amnesia somewhere or decides against their decision that they've already made. It happens. It does. And it's better to protect yourself on both sides, right? Absolutely. Lemuel, am I saying that right? Buffer. Oh, that's right. Buffer. Hootsuite, Buffer. And I think there's another one too where you can pre-schedule your social media content. Buffer was the other one that I was looking at. Yep, that's one. Thank you for that. Victoria VO says, I don't think marketing will be an issue because I used to do Instagram posts for my job, so I'm used to doing that. We also used to go live and talk about our merchandise a la QVC. Oh, that is cool. Well, see, then you're used to it. So it should be a relatively easy transition, I would think, since you've already got the chops. You already know the ins and outs of making the content, right? Good for you. You got a leg up on most of us that don't know what the heck we're doing. Joya says, side question. Is it pushing too far to email an author and ask to read a sample on social media after explaining you are a narrator? I've never seen it, but it sounds interesting. I might agree if asked. Okay, so let me take a sip of coffee and then read your question again to make sure I understand. Is it pushing too far to email an author and ask to read a sample on social after explaining you are a narrator? I don't think so. I don't think that's pushing too far. What I'm picturing in my head when you're asking this question is perhaps an author who does not have an audiobook version of their book, and a narrator sends you an email and says, hey, Mr. or Mrs. or Miss Author, I see that you do not have an audiobook version of your book. Do you mind if I read a sample of this for social media? And then maybe perhaps it could double as an audition for you? Or are you saying that there may be already an audiobook version and this narrator says, hey, I'm a narrator. I love your content and I think it would be a perfect fit for my voice. Would you mind if I read it in my own voice, just a sample, 30 seconds worth, and then posted it on social media? I think either way, the question swings in my head. I think either way, it's not pushing too far. I think that is something that people I know have done before on both ends. And I mean, that just takes a little bit of courage, right? I mean, try it. But I think if you would say yes, if someone had asked you, then, would you be offended if they asked you? Would you be upset if they asked you, if they said, hey, I love your content and I'd love to read a little section of it just to highlight my voice and I'd credit you in your book? I mean, I think that's a great idea for narrators, actually. I mean, what's the worst they could say? No. Okay, well, you kind of knew that was an option for a response, right? But that is interesting, and I think that is something that is definitely something people should try. MG Steven says, I have a totally off-topic question. Do you include metadata when you send your MP3s out to ACX or other platforms? If so, what do you include? I do include metadata. Audiobooks alone. Well, no, I also edit podcasts and I include metadata in podcasts as well. But for audiobooks, the very top line, I believe it's title. I put in the chapter, like chapter 1, and then the chapter name, if there is one. That's about all I put in there. But from my understanding, Audible also inserts information in there too. So it might be overkill, but I've always done it. So I don't know if they in fact do. Someone told me that they do. And I don't know for a fact if they do, but I always have. So I don't know if that's a thing or not. But that is typically what I include, is what chapter it is. So chapter 1, chapter 2, and then the chapter name, if there is one. That's what I include in the metadata. And I would imagine Audible would include the title of the book, perhaps, also. Which you could do, I suppose, but I don't know how much Audible does include. Wonder if that's written somewhere. There might be an FAQ somewhere that highlights that. Dylan Holt says, as a beginner, when should I jump into marketing? I know I need a coach and demo before I start booking, but that's a lot of money going out before any comes in. Yes, Dylan, we all understand that position. And that is something that you need to answer, basically, because it's hard to invest in your business when there's no money coming in. I hate spending money anyway, but I know that the money that I am spending is going to benefit me. It's going to help grow my business, and it's going to make me better and stay in this longer than if I don't, right? Everything that I spend money on is going to give me a leg up, right? The plugins that I buy, the coaching that I sign up for, the software that I use, the training that I get, every single thing that I spend money on is necessary in my mind. So I think for you to answer your question, you're going to have to answer that question because everybody's situation is different. Everybody's income or what they have to use, the capital they have available to use is going to be different. But just remember that whatever you do decide, that money that you spend is an investment in you and your business. So if it's worth it to you and your business to spend that money, then it is worth it. If it's worth it, you have to justify it in your mind. But you can make your own demos to start. I did, DIY your own demo and then refresh it as you just inherently get better and better with practice, right? I didn't hire a coach until a year and a half in. That's because I, A, hate spending money, and B, I'm stubborn. But having the coach taught me everything that I didn't know that I needed to know, right? So that is the benefit of having a coach. But I didn't have one until at least a year and a half in. I just kind of, was winging it and thinking I know everything. You don't. And you typically don't know what you don't know until someone tells you that you don't know it, right? But it all is an investment in yourself. But it is tough. But you're just going to have to ask yourself that question. But jumping into marketing is something you should probably do once you're comfortable with how you sound and your performance. But don't wait too long because you want to start introducing yourself and letting people know that you're there as soon as possible. But you don't want to embarrass yourself either, right? Because God knows some of the stuff I made in the beginning. But once you have a good pulse on how you sound, maybe from other voice actors in your Facebook group or whatever, then once you're confident, or at least a little confident, I would start marketing right away. Tangent 2. Cecil, Jim Cecil here. Hi, Jim. How you doing? Did you mention a specific site to try out the duet thing? Maybe I missed it if you did. Sorry. TikTok. TikTok is where you can do a duet. So how it works is a voice actor on the platform will say, "Hey, you want to be a voice actor? Try to do this script," right? And then he'll give you a little bit of you're reading the red lines or the blue lines and you're this character. Go. And then you can duet that video, meaning it's a split screen. So the original video is on this side and then your video is on this side. And then you're reading the character's copy, you're reading the character's lines from his screen. And then the two of you show up as a video together, on somebody's For You page. This is me scrolling, scrolling on the screen. But it's a great way for you to get exposure, right? To let people know that you're there. So, and it's fun. It's fun to try new things. It's great practice. Cecil says, I didn't say hi, so hi. Hi, Cecil. Thank you for saying hi. Mark Flores says, I had my first audiobook accepted and paid for on ACX. Congratulations. I've done audiobooks before, but this is the first one I got on the ACX platform. This one was a piece of cake, thanks to practice I've had. Awesome. That's great to hear. And it does get a little bit easier. Terminology becomes easier to recognize and understand. Your DAW gets easier to use. Your digital audio workstation, your recording software, gets easier to use as you use it and practice, right? So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. JCCAOL, happy Tuesday from Wisconsin. I was wondering, when making a website, could you use sample work from a book without the author's permission? What I typically do, if I was to put samples of work that I have done on my website, if I have samples, if I have audiobooks that I have done, I would typically use the retail sample. It's the same sample that is posted on the audiobook distributor's site to let listeners hear it and decide whether or not they want to purchase the book or use a credit for the book, right? So if you're, think of Audible. When you're looking for your next audiobook to listen to, the sample that you see there, that you click on to listen to it, is the retail sample. So I will use those because that is their purpose. But if you want to be extra cautious, which I am, reach out to the author and say, hey, I would love to use this retail sample, this promotional portion file on my website as samples or demos on my personal website, or my business website rather. And they'll more than likely say, yeah, that's fine. So if you're hesitant about doing that, ask the author if they're cool with it. But I would think a retail sample would be fine because that's what its purpose is. But still, if you're uneasy, ask the author. It's a good idea to ask them anyway. Anytime you're sharing their prose, it's a good idea to ask them anyway. I am Paxima says, I have 82 followers on TikTok. I'm very grateful that people love them. Thank you so much, Angela. Well, I am so appreciative of you and your advice, suggestions, and camaraderie. I appreciate you too. I appreciate all of you. There's 45 people here. I appreciate every single one of you watching because we are a community. And I think that is just as important as the information shared here because we understand each other, I think. I would hope, for the most part. And I do love your TikToks. I think if anybody has a TikTok profile, go to I am Paximus, right? That's what it is on TikTok, right? I am Paximus. And follow him. He's got great videos. I think we need to support each other as well in that respect. Shannon Flynn says, thank you for the Find Away Voices reference. I'm going to look into it. Sweet. Good. Mark Flora says, I love doing audiobooks now that I've got everything figured out and all the systems in place. They were very intimidating before, but I think I've got the hang of it now. Good. And it takes a while to get those systems in place because you have to figure out first, what systems do you need? And then B, what systems work with your current situation? And then C, getting all the systems to work harmoniously together. So that whole process of systems takes time as well, which goes back to my point about this, or really any business, being a marathon and not a sprint, because it takes time to learn all the new aspects and technology and software and systems and the performance aspect and tone. And there's so much to learn. But everybody goes through this process. Everybody goes through this process at some point or another. So we can all relate to that. We all understand that. And all of us, or some of us, might have great tips to share on how to get through that. But just know that you can't just pick up, as we've all seen those ads on social media. Hey, you can record audiobooks with your iPhone in your jammies and make $100 an hour. It's a marathon and it takes time, but give yourself some grace and have patience with yourself. You will get it. Your why will carry you through. Tangent number 3. I just got another. I am Paximus. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. Thank you, Angela. Just as a small gesture of gratitude and appreciation, have a cup of Java on me. Thank you. I hope you didn't think that you needed to do that for my TikTok plug. I think we should, although I appreciate it, I do, but I think we need to go and support each other. You know, even with a follow or a like or a subscribe. I mean, it doesn't cost anything, right? Go support each other on TikTok. I always do. I always like and comment if I can. It's just something that I think we should do. But thank you. I appreciate you. Guys are amazing. All right. What time is it? Okay, I gotta go soon. Let's get to where did I leave off? I think I'm here, Barbara. I'm going to be changing my studio because of a move. Do you recommend getting a new personal preset for my audio sound? And can you recommend someone to do the job? Yes, if you are changing anything in your studio, and that includes if you get a new mic, if you get a new interface, you rearrange your studio to include maybe more insulation or treatment, or if you move to a completely different place, you will need to rework your presets or rework your effects so they enhance the sound of the new space, the new equipment, right? If anything changes, your effects will need to be adjusted. And if you need help with that, there are a lot of audio engineers / voiceover artists on Facebook, on social media. They're easy to find, that can help you with that. I personally used Tim Tippett, Tippets. He is otherwise known as the VO Tech Guru, and you can find him there on his website, VO Tech Guru. He's also on Facebook as VO Tech Guru. But there's also Uncle Roy, Roy Yokelson. I think he's in my Facebook group, the VO Workshop. And there's a handful of others that can do this service for you. And of course, their pricing structures are different with what they include, what they do, how much they charge, how long they hang out with you to get this accomplished. But there are people out there that do just this and can help you make the best of your space sound-wise. Dylan Holt says, thank you so much for the answer. You are such a great help and inspiration for us all. I appreciate that, Dylan. I'm just happy to be here, and I'm just happy that you all are here and find my tangents, for the most part, informational. Victoria VO says, who was your coach, if you don't mind sharing? Anthony Pica. Also, what is the difference between a DIY demo and professional? What is the benefit? Thank you all for your time and great advice. I'm glad you asked, Victoria. A DIY demo is meaning you record some snippets of, let's just say you're making an audiobook demo. This is what I have done. I went to projectgutenberg.org, and that's a website with all the books that are out of copyright. They're all in the public domain. And you choose a few selections, different genres. Maybe there's a drama, maybe there's a romance, so on and so forth. Pick 4 or 5 of them and narrate little samples of those. So they're all different tones, right? Intensities, characters. And then you compile all of those together to make a demo. You yourself do that, meaning it's, do it yourself demo. You made your own demo. If you have a professional help you, then they have the skills and ability to enhance your sound. Some of them will even coach you through the recording process to get them the best performance out of you. And then they'll sometimes even add music and sound effects as well. My personal opinion, the problem with a professional demo in the very beginning is that professional demo is what you're going to be sharing with your clients when you're first starting out. So that is what they're going to expect from you. If you cannot replicate the sound quality or the music or the performance without help, then that's going to be a problem for your client, because that is what they're going to expect. And if you can't replicate that, then that's going to be a problem, right? I just wanted to say that again so you picked up on that. That is the main difference. But once you're comfortable enough with your processes, with your DAW, with the recording process, and you can replicate the sound of that professional demo close to anyway, then that is when you want to get one. And not to mention, professional demos are hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending on the package that you choose, when you can make your own in the beginning and be just fine. And that would be even closer, representative of what you can currently provide with your voiceover. So it just makes sense to make a DIY demo in the beginning. And then as you progress, a year or two in, then and at that point, hopefully you'll have the capital or to invest in a professional demo, right? I hope that all makes sense. Edwin00 says, I am here, so beware fear. Love that. We're punching fear in the face today. Go beyond, plus ultra, baby. Hey, Angela, have you ever used sound panels, and what do you think of them? I have not used sound panels. I use acoustic foam in here, and then everything's covered by these moving blankets for extra plushness, right? To remove all of that hard, smooth surfaces in here that reflect. I've never used sound panels, but I have seen lots of tutorials on how to make them, because I know that eventually I will move out of this house and have a bigger room, thank goodness, and the sound panels are probably going to come into play at some point. But there are a lot of YouTube videos on how to make them, and from what I understand, they do work. I know, point of fact, Tim Tippett's, while I was meeting with him when we were making my presets, he had... I think he even told me that he made them. He made his own sound panels that were in the room behind him, in the room he was in, and they just look cool. And apparently they work, obviously, if a audio engineer says they do. But I've never personally used them, not in this room. I'd like to, but... Edwin then says, how do you test your audio in your setup to make sure you are creating a quality product? Again, this is what I have done, and this is what I recommend you do for the best result. Record something, right? And then post it in a Facebook group where it's allowed, where you can get feedback from people with the ear to hear these things. Because you listening to your test recordings over and over and over, you might become accustomed to what you perceive as normal. And it turns out that it may not be, right? Your volume might be too low. You might have too much ambient noise. There might be echo that you don't recognize. There may be lots of sibilants or plosives. There could be something that you're just used to hearing and don't see it as maybe something that needs to be addressed. So I would share that with people with the ear, again, in a Facebook group that allows for you to share your demos, and ask for feedback, and then make the adjustments as necessary. And then with all of that input, then you should be able to create a quality product. Or you can hire an audio engineer and have them help you right out the gate. Either way. I am Paxma says, thank you for your kindness and support. Same, brother. I appreciate your kindness and support. Cecil says, come on, y'all, show the love. Hit the thumbs up for Angela. Yes, I always like saying this. Smash that like button. Thank you. Facebook user, this is Teresa. Hello, Angela. I find fiction really challenging due to the multiple character voices. Any suggestions of a learning site? Practice and listening to audiobooks yourself. And then also getting working with the author or the rights holder in developing voices, right? I was very surprised myself of the voices that I could create for different characters, because it comes down to personality and attitude, really. If you want, and I always recommend it, I'm sorry if you guys are just tired of hearing me say it, but Scott Brick, namely Jurassic Park, is a great audiobook to listen to hear the subtlety in character change from character to character. It's very, very subtle. And it doesn't have to be anything extreme as far as characters go, unless it's like a fantasy where there's like you've got like werewolves and vampires and fairies, and then you might want to get a little bit more creative with voices because there's supernatural kinds of creatures, right? Aliens, stuff like that. And you really want to work with the rights holder on those voices. But for, things like Jurassic Park, just subtle changes in characters. And it really, again, comes down to personality of the character. But practice, practice, practice. Listen to audiobooks yourself. That would definitely help. And then just practice. Practice, practice. I am Paximus. I am not confident, unfortunately, with audio narration, but I am practicing a lot now that I have a bit more time since getting my new job. If you do sample on TikTok, I'll muster up the courage to duet it. Oh, did you just throw down the gauntlet? You're asking me to step outside of my comfort zone? Oh my God. I guess I could. I don't know. I'm going to have to quiet down the screaming introvert in my head and think about it a little bit. But I would appreciate it if you did. If I do, I would be glad if any of you duetted it. Victoria Vio says thumbs up for Angela. Thank you. I appreciate you, Victoria. I am Paximus. Tangent number 4. Let it happen, Angela. Let it happen. Love it. Love it at Levitt's. Oh, that's so funny. Is Levitt's even still around? The furniture store? It's so funny. Hat Powser, do you mind saying how much Tim charged? Tim, I'm trying to remember. If you go to his website, because I don't want to say, because I don't know if his pricing is still the same. This was a few years ago, so I don't know if the prices are just still the same. But with his service in helping me to create my presets and shortcuts on Adobe Audition, with that comes a whole course on understanding Adobe Audition, which is called Audition Ready, right? Which was in and of itself valuable. So I would say go to his website, votechguru.com, and check it out. I'm okay saying that. Edwin00 says, thank you so much, Angela. Appreciate all you do, and God bless, awesome lady. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Barbara says, thank you, Angela. Have a great day. You too, Barbara. Clay says, sound panels and bass traps are great to eliminate low frequencies and unwanted reverbs. I have bass traps installed on wall corners and panels installed on the ceiling. They made a big difference. Yeah, I think I might even need bass trap. I got a couple of corners in here that I suspect may be causing a little bit of just a little bit of boxiness in here. So I think I might need to, but then, there's always a problem, right? There's always something to address we're never 100% happy with the sound in our recording spaces. But I think I might do that too. Learn Audacity says, I created my own acoustic panels. They're great for treating a room. Yeah, there's, 3, 5, 10. I mean, there's a bajillion, videos on YouTube, but there's a handful of them that show you how to make your own sound panels. Janeri is here. Hey, Janeri. Hi, Angela. Thank you for all your tips. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here and listening to my tangents. Jessica Kent says, do it. Oh, no, not the TikTok thing. Learn Audacity says, saving my pennies for a booth. Same. I can't even fit one in this little tiny room, but I know the next house I move into that's got like an actual room, I'm going to have a sound booth. I'm going to go with the Studio Bricks VO edition, I think is what I'm going to go for. Same though. Saving. Tracy says, how long should a DIY demo for an audiobook be? That's a good question. I would say 3 or 4 different genres and maybe 20 seconds each. Because really, the author listening to it is going to know if they're going to keep listening or if you're the right voice just within a few seconds. So it doesn't need to be super long. It doesn't have to be a full chapter or a full, you know, page of an audiobook or anything. Just short. Short. Jim says, hello, Angela. I've heard that everything in your booth has to be covered. Do you have all of your equipment covered? What are your thoughts? I would say every space is different. But I think to that effect, specifically what you're asking, having everything covered, not everything is covered in here, but I think the sound quality is okay. I have all of my walls covered. My ceiling is covered. The door to this room is covered. I have carpeted floor. And then I have a gigantic desk mat that covers the desk surface, like a giant mouse pad, like a gaming mouse pad that covers the majority of my desk surface. And then everything else on my desk is kind of covered with other stuff to reduce the reverb. But I think what you should do is start with the walls and the ceiling and the floor, obviously, and then test the sound. If you need more covering, then you can kind of test, I'm going to cover this here and then record something else and take a listen. Nope, still there. Okay, I'm going to try and put that over here and just kind of fine tune it as you go along. That's what I did anyway. Tracy says, and how long should they be, give or take? Overall, maybe just a couple of minutes. Overall. I am Paximus. Sorry, Angela, that wasn't intentional to challenge you. Yes, it was. But on second thought, I promise to do it, even if I'm not confident or good at it. I will do it for support. You guys are awesome. I'm really going to have to think about it because again, the introvert in me is just screaming. But I think that's something we should all do. Okay, Facebook user, this is Teresa. Thank you, Angela. I get so much from these sessions and I appreciate it. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you do. I am Paxima says Levitz isn't around, but it's a saying I have when I love something. I get awkward looks sometimes, unless I know the furniture store when they laugh with me. Those moments are precious. So thanks. I find myself more and more, like there were sayings that I said a lot. I'm Generation X, right? So there's a lot of things that I have said ever since I was a kid that is getting lost a lot more on the people that I talk to. I can't think of any specific examples, but along those lines, love it at Levitz, things that we maybe grew up saying, this just doesn't get picked up on anymore. So you're just like, oh, I feel old. So it's nice when people know what you're talking about. I'm with you. Jessica Kent says, I record in a closet full of clothes, then additional blankets clamped over the clothes and a carpet. There you go. That works. If it works, it works. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to sound good, right? Keegan says, good afternoon. Can I do audiobooks with an iPad? I have not yet purchased a computer, Adobe. I don't know. I think if you're not purchasing a DAW, it's going to be hard to get the file formats requirements or even the ACX standards using an iPad. I don't know if you have I don't know if you can even hook up an external mic to an iPad, but if you're planning on using the iPad to record on, like you're recording into the iPad's microphone, I would say no. I would say invest in the appropriate equipment. I mean, there's some things you can kind of bend the rules on, but the most important things for this industry is the quality of sound, right? And you can't really I know that iPads and phones have great microphones on them. They just don't have the depth and the warmth that a microphone, an external microphone can bring. And the listener experience is very important in the end result. So I would say You can use the iPad to read copy off of, but I wouldn't use it to be your whole studio, if that's what you mean. And again, I'm not sure if that's what you mean completely, but I would say no. It wouldn't be doing you any justice. I am Paxima says, I am with you, Angela. Good. We're there. We need matching bracelets. Okay, Joya, I think this is the last comment. I got to get going. Joya says, from my POV, I like to hear longer audiobook demos. It allows time to hear if the narrator is a storyteller, slips into monotone, or has another hiccup in the reading. I've listened to 5-minute demos. Well, there you go. You've heard it from an author's perspective. So 3, 4, 5 minutes then maybe? I think, so then that would make the samples, what, 30 a minute? So let's just say you did 5 samples within the one demo, each a minute each. Each a minute each? To, 4 or 5 minute demo. That's what you're saying, Joya? I think that makes sense. So you can hear how that does make sense. Thank you for your information, for your insight. All of it is valuable. Keegan says, thanks. I appreciate your help here. I'm trying to get started. We've all struggled in the beginning. We've all been there, Keegan. Mamanda Panda says, Angela, does that mic position decrease sibilance? No, not really. This mic position being off axis does reduce plosives. That's about it. Sibilance is sibilance is sibilance. I'm going to be sibilant no matter where I am in relation to the microphone. But having it to the side of my mouth is going to reduce plosives because the air, in a plosive, that air is going to go past the mic instead of into it. So not so much sibilance, but definitely plosives. And then Leslie says, great info and tips. Thank you, Angela. Thank you again. I can't tell you, I sound like a broken record, I know, but I do appreciate the time you guys take away from your lunch breaks or, take out of your day. I know there's not enough hours in the day, it seems anymore, but I appreciate the time that you guys do take to spend and hang out and share your knowledge and information with everybody else watching. And I love this community and I'm glad that I do this every week. So with that, I will see everybody next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, Tuesday, 12 p.m. EST. I'll see y'all then. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. If you have an extra moment, please feel free to leave a review. We'll see you next time.